Welcome to Crunch Time. That's episode 6. We're going to get right into it. And Greg, the first thing I got to ask you, Rip Hamilton? Really? I mean, come on. I mean, we're losing all show credibility here. Rip Hamilton?
My decision to go with Rip Hamilton is giving this show credibility.
I mean, come on.
We're not the standard guys, you know? I mean, we're trying to put a little bit of a debate here. Trying to bring the list of 5 guys than the average Joe. So,
so the number one shooter that everybody's talking about, Steph Curry, do we just give him the MVP now, or do we actually have to play the whole season? I mean, I think he's MVP right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's leading the league in points, leading the league in 3-point shooting. He's on the best team, off to the best record. Why not? Give it to him. Oh, wait.
Nobody else.
It's only 8 games into the season.
LeBron's not killing us. LeBron's not showing great stats or anything like that. I mean, Steph Curry had a bad shooting night. He had 25 points. I mean, the guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you're not going to be able to give it to him now, but for the first 2 weeks of the season, definitely. I mean, you know, he's lights out, you know. He's wearing the #1 jersey in the league, you know, with the hottest shoe. You know, he's the best player out there right now. He's looking good doing it.
So some good stories going on in the NBA tonight, and DeAndre Jordan going to play the Mavericks tonight. What do you think it's going to be like there?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very interested to see what Mark Cuban has in store for him. You know,
they've been killing him on Twitter. I know the Mavericks have been killing him on Twitter.
Yeah, well, actually, I just heard Mark Cuban wants to release the text messages between him and DeAndre Jordan, you know, I guess leading up to.
Oh, see, I'm not a fan of that. I mean, I love controversy, but I'm not a fan of that. I think that's all backdoor stuff. You don't need to put that out in the open. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's good. It gets people like you and I talking about it. I mean, why else would we be talking about a Mavs Clipper game?
True.
You know, in the first week of November. So, you know, whatever. It's fun. You know, I mean. I don't know if I was against DeAndre Jordan going back on the deal, because I think he made a smart move staying with LA. But at the same time, I'm old school. So when you give a guy your word and you shake on it, you think a verbal commitment is, you know, it's almost as good as getting him signed in stone. So,
yeah, but you know what? To go back on that, I mean, the guy's 26 years old, or 27 years old. I mean. Yeah. Do these guys even know verbal contracts? Do those words mean anything? To me and you, they mean something, because we've worked our whole lives. I mean, these guys are playing basketball for a career. A verbal agreement, they're just like, well, where can I get more money? I mean, high school players do this all the time with choosing college sports college teams they want to go play for. First they're playing for LSU, next thing you know, they're playing for Alabama. So I don't think the verbal contract thing means anything anymore.
No, but, you know, you are a professional. So, you know, yes, he's only 26, but he's still a professional. So at the end of the day, if you tell Mark Cuban that you're going to come and sign, and then all of a sudden 3 days later, you've been, you know, manipulated, or you've actually changed your mind to stay where you're at, I get it. What I didn't understand was the whole fact that DeAndre Jordan wanted to leave LA to become the man. I mean, he was getting exactly what he wanted in Dallas. He was going to be the focal point of an offense, and he was going to be getting a max deal. You know, who else is there to play next to him except for Dirk Nowitzki? He was going.
But that's the point, and I think that's what he realized. He's not the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
he's not the guy.
But how do you make that decision in 3 days? So you're telling me that your entire career has led up to the point where you want to become the man, and all of a sudden in 3 days, because Doc Rivers slept inside your house for 3 days and convinced you and your agent that it was better to stay in LA? You know.
Listen, it's a team that wants him more. I mean, it's like relationships. The guy who you know, who's willing to do more for you, that's the guy you want to be with. I mean, that's how. I mean, if you want to make, you know, DeAndre Jordan the girl in this situation, Doc Rivers wanted him more. He was willing to do everything he can to keep him. So.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. So I'm interested to see how Mark Cuban, you know, shows up for him at the game. I think
they're gonna. I think listen, it's a game that doesn't matter because it's at the beginning of the season. I mean, I have a feeling they're gonna. There's going to be stuff on the jumbotron, and there's going to be chants. There's probably going to be T-shirts, something crazy. It's Mark Cuban. He does something ridiculous all the time. But there's another homecoming tonight. LaMarcus Aldridge going to Portland. I think will be a little less of a controversy. How do you think it's going to be received there?
You should, as a Portland fan, applaud him. I mean, he gave you everything that he had for the time that he was there. Portland did a fairly good job trying to put a winning team around him. But when you are so competitive in the West, if you're not going to be able to win where you're at and you ultimately want to win a title, go someplace where you're able to win a title. And what better franchise to do that with than San Antonio?
Yeah. And then you got to figure, Tim Duncan's going to eventually retire, and that becomes LaMarcus Aldridge's team. It's the best case scenario for him. He starts, he learns from the best, and he fills in that position kind of like Tim Duncan did when David Robinson was there. I mean, the only problem is, as far as I'm concerned, Tim Duncan's going to play till he's about 75 years old because they got ever agents.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he has a great system in there with Greg Popovich. I don't see him retiring anytime soon. Tony Parker is still a young point guard. And, with Kawhi Leonard, you're going to have a perimeter player for the next 10 years. So,
sure.
Why not? It was a no-brainer, and then they were also able to bring David West in. But you're absolutely right. So, going back to it, if you're a Portland fan, you still have a young team that you can at least root for, because what else is there up in Portland except for maybe soccer? But you should still applaud what Aldridge did for him. I mean, they were still a playoff contender every year. They just happened to be the 5 or 6 seed, and you couldn't get past the powerhouses that are the Spurs, the Thunder, the Heat, not the Heat, the Rockets, and everybody. So
yeah, I agree. And one more homecoming. We'll switch to the NFL. Rex Ryan going to New York this weekend to play the Jets. So Bills Jets. I think that's going to be exciting. I think that stadium's going to be lit on fire as soon as Rex Ryan comes in there. I know a lot of Jet fans seem to hate Rex Ryan, but the only reason they were legitimate for all those those years that they were there. I mean, the fact that we're even talking about him is because of Rex Ryan. So I'd like to see what the transition is there and what the reaction is going to be like.
Yeah, it's gonna be funny, and then obviously he's already making waves. He's got Ike Emapoki, the classic.
Oh, being the captain, I know.
The co-captain.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it or you heard. Did you see Gino's? There was a report done, or a reporter was asking him questions on how he, if he was taking it personal about Ike becoming a captain and everything, and.
Yeah.
And Gino just goes, "Why should I take it personal?" And the guy's like, "Because he punched you in the face." Take it personal. I mean,
I don't think he's got his $600 back yet.
My God, I take it personal when a guy in a parking lot takes the spot that I'm looking for.
I agree.
You got punched in the face. I mean, you lost your starting job. I mean, why wouldn't you take it personal?
Basically, getting punched in the face by IK was basically a career-ending injury for him, because Ryan Fitzpatrick took over. Geno Smith is no longer the starter there, nor will he be, and I don't think he's going to be anywhere else. So that one small thing changed his whole career.
Yeah, for a $600 flight, $600 flight ticket. It's like, open up your wallet, buddy. It's you're the starting quarterback for a team in New York, and you can't pay back a teammate $600.
Exactly.
Like, come on.
Yep. I think that'll be a good game. I actually like the Bills in that game, but the Jets at home is tough to play against too. Ryan Fitzpatrick will be healthy this week, so I like the Bills there. But switching over, we talk NFC East. Because that's our division. You're a Giants fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, as everybody knows. So Cowboys get back Tony Romo next week, not this week. They're playing the Bucs, which I think is a win for us. I think there's too much defensive pressure for Jameis Winston, and I think that Matt Castle kind of coming into his own a little bit, getting a little more comfortable with the offense. finding Cole Beasley, using Jason Witten. Now you got Des Bryant back healthy. I like the Cowboys there. When Romo comes back, do the Cowboys have a legitimate shot to win the NFC East?
Hell no. Hell no.
An unbiased opinion.
Regardless, you're 2-6 right now. Say you do win against the Bucs, which
in the division where the Giants are 4-4.
No, the Giants are 5-4.
Excuse me.
Giants are 5-4. But they also, they did split with the Cowboys. They are 2-2 in the division. But I mean, if you're not worried about the Cowboys, or if you're not worried about the Giants, you still have to worry about the Eagles, and you still are a game under Washington. I mean, you're at the bottom of the division right now. I mean, you're 2-6. Yep. So even if you win, so you're telling me you win against Tampa Bay, Romo comes back, and you run the table, and you're able to make the playoffs at 10-6. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, but you know what? You play Miami, you play Washington again, and Washington's not a great team. There are some winnable games. I mean, Giants have to win too. I mean, Giants are playing the Pats this weekend. Obviously I'm taking the Pats. It's the Patriots. It's in New England. I have to go with the Patriots there.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I mean, but you're talking about if the Giants lose, they go to 5-5, and the Cowboys go to 3-6, you still have a 2-game lead on them. I mean, I don't see all of a sudden Tony Romo being able to come back and playing at the high level that he is, and all of a sudden magically turning this team around.
But the team's not that far off. I mean, you lose by 1 point to Seattle. You lose by a touchdown or a field goal to the Eagles and Matt Castle throws that interception in the fourth quarter, which you run an out route for Darren McFadden, and it's a pick six. He's thrown 2 pick sixes in critical times. So I don't think Tony Romo gets you farther than that position. So I count those as wins for us. Obviously not on the scoreboard, but I count them as close games where we won. We should have won. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're right. But, like we've said past in the show, quoting Bill Parcells, you are what your record says you are. So at 2-6, you're still 2-6. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you win this week and you're 3-6, that gives you 7 games left. That means you have to go 7-0, including this week. That would have put you at 8-0. I mean, how many teams go 8-0, at any point during the season? I mean, I know we still got a couple undefeated teams here, but we're talking about the elite of the elite. And, you still need to have some grace time for Tony Romo to come back and play again with his teammates. I mean, it's not like he's been out the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, he's been out since week 2. I mean, when he went down with the with the collarbone. So, I mean, he's been out for a while.
I got the schedule here. I got Dolphins, which I think is a win. I got Panthers.
Oh, that's a loss right there.
In Dallas. I'm telling you, I have a feeling they beat the Panthers. The Panthers are not going to run the table. They got to lose to somebody. Why not the Cowboys? You got the Redskins at Washington, which I count as a win because the Washington's terrible. And the game that I'm a little worried about is the Packers in Green Bay. But I'm looking at a shootout between Romo and Rodgers, so you never know. Then you got the Jets, the Bills, and the Redskins, which I count all wins.
What football are you watching?
I'm telling you, this is a good football team without a quarterback. We all know the quarterback makes the team. We have close games. Every game they've played, it's been close. With Brandon Weeden, it was close. With Matt Castle, it was close. Tony Romo puts you over on these games. Okay, so
let me ask you this then. If the Giants' record right now is 5-4, but they should have beaten Cowboys game 1, and they should have beaten Atlanta in week 2, you're telling me that right now you think the Giants are 7-2? That you think they're a 7-2 football team?
Yes.
What? Get out of here.
I do. With Tony Romo, yes.
You can't say that. I mean, anybody can always go back and look over the record and say, oh, we should have won here. We should have done this. But all you can do is say, okay, we ended up losing. What are we going to do next week? You got to take 1 week at a time. And I don't see Tony Romo being the one person to come back onto a team and him being able to change. Yes, you may win more games with him than without him, but to run the table for the rest of the season and hopefully take over this division, I don't see that happening.
Listen,
No way do I see that happening.
I'll give you the Patriots game. I'll give you the Saints game. I'll give you the Falcons game. That's 3 losses right there. But, I mean, we beat the Eagles. We beat the Seahawks. Like, these are winnable games here. We beat the Giants. These are winnable games here.
I don't see it. I don't see it. I mean, you could even look at the other side of the ball. You've had Greg Hardy now for 4 games. Have you won any game with Greg Hardy on your team? And he's your best defensive player.
First of all, Sean Lee is our best defensive player.
Tony's going to come back and be lights out. I do have to say, I got to put this out there. If there is one shining light of the Cowboys, how good is the offensive line? Because if you can make Darren McFadden into the player that he is right now,
Darren McFadden is a top 5 pick. I mean, the guy is a legitimate running back playing on a terrible team for Oakland. Understandably, got injured all the time, so he has the ability. But when you play on a shitty team like Oakland, obviously you're not going to have an offensive line like you have here. I mean, look at DeMarco Murray. DeMarco Murray's not blowing it up in Philadelphia. I mean, he's splitting carries with other guys. So,
look, Darren McFadden better be taking out his offensive line for
of course,
lunch and dinner every single day because just feed them nonstop because they are unbelievable. I'm telling you. I mean, Darren McFadden.
He's got a roster bonus. He
runs
for 1,200 yards. He gets a $500,000.
What's that?
I said if he runs for 1,200 yards, which he's on pace to do right now, he gets an extra $500,000. So he better be thinking that offensive line.
Oh, definitely. I mean, 2 years in a row. I mean, with DeMarco Murray last year, and then the way McFadden is running the ball, that's a legit offensive line.
I mean, listen, Matt Castle threw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns last week.
Man,
that's the offensive line. That's not Matt Castle. That's the offensive line. But all right, let's go to the Giants-Pats game. I obviously have the Pats here in New England. Tom Brady being Tom Brady, doing what he does. I think he's going to rip apart that defense. You can only throw to Odell Beckham, you can't throw to the guy every time. So I like the Patriots here. I like the smug look on your face though. You think it's going to be you think the Giants have a shot here?
No, I mean the only reason is because the number 1 killer of the Pats are the Giants. But then again,
especially when they're undefeated.
Yeah, it's not February. We're not talking about the playoffs here. So it's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough game. Just because the Pats play so well, especially at home. The one thing that the Giants have to do that they have not been able to do at all this season is get after Tom Brady. I mean, my boy JPP is guaranteeing a sack this week. The problem with that is that the Giants only have 9 sacks all year, so I don't see how it's going to translate. They barely put any pressure on Jameis Winston last week. 9 sacks this year, it's pretty pathetic. But.
Now, let me ask you a question. If JPP does sack Tom Brady, does that count as half a sack? Does he have half a hand? Or is that like that's a full sack then, right?
I don't know. I just hope they don't get him for a personal foul, like him coming around and like clubbing Tom Brady. They'll be like, he was trying to maul him.
The glove hand is look like this.
Oh, here, I got a question for you though. So now the Giants have 9 sacks all season.
Yeah.
They had 13 interceptions and 13 forced fumbles for a total of 26 turnovers this year.
Yeah.
What do you think? By the end of the year, you think the Giants are going to have more sacks than turnovers? Or do you think they're going to be the first team in history to ever force more turnovers than have sacks?
I'm going to go with more turnovers because they can't seem to get to the quarterback, and they've already got an outstanding lead right now with 26-9. 9's like you're not even trying. 9's like you're not even showing up.
The Jets got 6 sacks in last week's game against the Jaguars. So
exactly.
A couple of years ago, didn't Justin Tuck have 5 sacks in a game?
Exactly. But I mean, listen, You have to get back to the quarterback, especially if you're playing Tom Brady. That's why if you give Tom Brady too much time, and it's the same thing, and I'm not saying, not to go back to the Cowboys, but if you give Tony Romo that much time with that offensive line and you give Tom Brady that much time, they're going to kill you. And I'll be honest with you, most quarterbacks are going to kill you. Eli Manning has struggled over the past couple of years because his offensive line is, for lack of a better word, atrocious. He has no time back there. And I think he's, with the offensive line that the Cowboys have, I mean, you're talking, huge numbers from Eli.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm predicting anything. All I can say is.
So you're not. So wait, hold on. So you're not taking the Giants this weekend?
No.
No, you're not. You're taking the Pats.
I think I'm going to go with New England in New England.
In New England. Okay. Last thing I want to talk about doesn't really affect us, but it affects other people. Something I love, a hold dear to me. DraftKings and FanDuel banned in New York. I think they're appealing, so that'll change. But I was on FanDuel actually this afternoon making a roster for tonight's NBA games. I haven't done NBA yet, but I did a roster for NBA. I got Steph Curry on my team, obviously. And but yeah, so now New York not allowed to do DraftKings, say it's illegal gambling. What do you say?
These things just don't make any sense. It's like they came out. They've been legalized because they've been formulated as a game of skill, where gambling has to do with luck. Yeah. So if legislation was passed that DraftKings and FanDuel are allowed to operate like that, how does the state of New York all of a sudden come in and say, you're not allowed to accept business from any New Yorkers? I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Now, what I don't understand is does FanDuel and DraftKings, do they have to give money to these states for being allowed to be in their territory or in their states? Is there any kickback here? Is there any way is it taxed somehow?
See, and I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know that all these states originally wanted to do some type of sports betting so that way they could regulate it, they could tax it, and then obviously the states make money off of it.
Sure.
I don't know how exactly each state operates like that because, again, it's not gambling. It's a game of skill.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a game of skill, I don't think it doesn't fall into where it has to be taxed. Well, that's a topic for another show because I don't know the answer to that.
I am pro sports gambling. I'm a terrible gambler when it comes to sports, but I am very pro. I like the idea of being able to place a bet on a game that I don't care about. I mean, the Super Bowl, I lost $100 because freaking they didn't run the ball. I lost $100 because I had to pay. I had the Seahawks winning that game, but I love sports betting. And just like legalized marijuana, if you can find a way to make a profit off of it as a state or as a country, then make it happen. Same thing with sports betting. New Jersey Chris Christie keeps either he's with it or he's not with it. I don't even know anymore, but it's going to bring more money in. I understand the bad side of it, but there's also gambling in casinos and things like that. So it's the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have a toss up because I look at it exactly like how you just said. It's, what's the big deal for the average person just to be able to throw down money on a game, and it makes that game a little bit more interesting. It gets a little bit, fuzzy when an employee from FanDuel is winning $350,000 playing DraftKings because he kind of has that insider information.
Yes.
Has a problem when we find out that a referee in the NBA is hooked up with the mob, and now is there point shaving going on?
You know what? Are those isolated incidents, or are those
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, my thing with sports is that sports it's pure, and as long as you keep it pure, then it's the greatest form of entertainment because it's it's unscripted reality.
Right. Yeah,
you never know what's going to be whatever's going to happen. You don't know. But if if betting sometimes influences the way things turn out in the game, you know, that's only a negative, not only for the game itself, but how people view it. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted with it.
I agree, Greg. You know what? That's a great way to end the show. Sport for us is pure. It's what we love to talk about. It's the reason we do this show. Whether it's just me and you watching or everybody's watching, sport is what we're here to do, and that's why we like doing. That's why I like doing this show. So, Greg, as always, it's been fun, and I'll talk to you next week. All right.
Sounds good.
See ya.
Yep.